1. About a month ago, I had a guest, Jim, come up to me at the desk and tell me that his girlfriend is refusing to leave the room, that she is being aggressive towards him. The friend, Taylor, I don't know her real name, was not staying with the guest, just visiting. Jim wanted to know if there was anything I could do to get her to leave. I let him know the only thing I could do was call the police and have her trespassed off the property. He stepped away to call his girlfriend to let her know, and ask if she wanted me to take this course of action. A minute later, he came back and asked me to call. He went back to the room while I was on the phone. A few minutes after I hung up, he called the desk asking for the ETA, letting me know that they managed to get her out of the room, but now she was banging on the door. I told him probably 5 minutes as I just got off the phone with them. He said thank you and hung up. The cops got there a minute later, fastest they have ever come. I told them what was going on and up they went. I went to snoop on the cameras to watch. She ended up getting on the elevator with them, so they didn't even have to go to the room. They walked her out of the hotel and talked to her for a few minutes. When Jim came down, they talked to him as well. Once done, Jim, his girlfriend, and another friend went out to the back patio. The cops then left, leaving Taylor outside my hotel. She came to the front door, wanting to be let in. I had the doors locked. I told her that I can't let her in, as she was not a paying guest, and the paying guests do not want her here. She walked away for a few minutes before coming back. When I walked to the back, she would hold on the buzzer we have. I told her to stop. This went back and forth a few times before I went to get Jim to ask what he would like me to do. He told me call the cops, said they would bring her home. He also told me to just leave her out there, so I did. But she just kept coming back to the door and holding down the buzzer. Now this buzzer is crazy loud, and I kept telling her to stop. She then decides that her phone is still in the room and that she needs it. So I walk back to Jim to ask him about the phone. They tell me she has it. But Jim does get up to go talk to her while the girlfriend goes outside to double check that her phone was not in the room. She is begging him to let her stay, but he is refusing. When the girlfriend comes back, she tells her the phone is not in the room. Jim and Co. go back to their room, leaving Taylor outside. She never comes back to the door, and eventually she walks away. A few hours later, I see her walking the parking lot again. But I have no clue where she went and never saw her again. 2. A name is a truly personal thing. We now live in times where people can use our names not only against us, but to find us online. And it's incredibly unsettling to wear my real name every single day, knowing anyone could obtain it and use it however they want. I understand that names create accountability, but pseudonyms do as well. For example, if I speak with HR and explain my reasons for using a different name at the front desk, and one day a desk leaves a review, "John was such a jerk. He not only threw my keys on the floor after making them, but when I asked him where I should park, he laughed and said, 'Good luck.' Unacceptable behavior." HR would approach me because they know I requested to use the name John at the front desk. They would then ask me about the incident, and depending on my actions, decide to release me or reprimand me, requiring me to adjust my behavior. The process works the same way, and accountability exists in the same context. If we consider a more realistic context in which people often use names derogatorily, a pseudonym can give those people something to target while we just stand there being a face. For example, if my name was Jason and a guest had a problem, I might hear, "Well, Jason, it seems you guys have no idea how to work an air conditioner, and it's really not the standard I'm used to when I stay at this name brand hotel." Versus a possible pseudonym, "Well, Billy Bob, it seems you guys have no idea how to work an air conditioner, and it's really not the standard I'm used to when I stay at this name brand hotel." I understand I might as well be talking about dragons and wizards and casting spells, due to the fact that this actually being something for a company to adopt would absolutely be complete, utter fantasy. Because the people that create these policies are completely locked up in a time that does not exist anymore, and they automate most of their decisions and policies from a time long ago. Such a novel idea would completely contradict everything they know and learned, and they do not have the imagination to understand why it would work and why it would be best for the employees. But it's a good idea that would require more time for it to be implemented, and would hope sooner than later. 3. I started in the hotel business at a big franchise hotel. Let's call it Shiriat. A friend referred me. Anyways, I lasted 3 months, and I will go ahead and explain why it was such a short time. It was October 2022, and it was my first day. I was a front desk agent and also a part-time night auditor on weekends. It was merely $18 an hour. It was close to my house, so it was a win for me. My trainer, just another associate, would have her friends and husband visit her on the weekends, my night audit shift. Her friends consisted of past workers and the assistant general manager. Her past workers would come in drunk at around 3 a.m. and start taking things from the pantry, and even started accessing the computers. Here's the thing. Since the AGM would hang with them, I thought it meant this was a laid-back job, so I ended up befriending them. After a while, the AGM and I started being really good friends, and at one point, she would even lie for me regarding my hours. We now arrive at December, the Christmas party, where it was free beer and some food which we all partook of. I was dressed pretty bougie myself, I'll admit, wearing a business casual fit that cost me a fortune. I make poor financial decisions. My coworkers were sneaking into a room that was listed under vacant pickup and smoking and pre-gaming. I was told to bring a bottle, so I picked up a Don Julio, just not to arrive empty-handed. Anyways, I enter the room, and there's my AGM looking at me. I don't know if she was just drunk, but she kept pushing me to drink. I took one shot to make everyone happy, and I left to the conference room because I felt a little bit odd. She followed me and sat next to me laughing at everything I would say, grabbing my leg and just being a bit too weird. And for those thinking, damn bro, you had a chance to do your boss, you have to be in my position to understand. I ended up making an excuse to leave and Uber to a club down the street. After I left the party, I kept getting drunk texts from my AGM, and I at one point had to mute my phone. Maybe an hour later, I got a call from a friend saying they were on the way to the club I was in, which I then freaked out because I only told one person. Turns out, after I left, she was questioning every one of the associates to get my location. This is a red flag already. But I was drunk with my friends already, so I just let it be. Anyway, time passes, and the end of the night was soon upon us. I had been dancing with this really cute girl and even got her Instagram and number. I was really tipsy and happy. I had a whole lot of fun. On the way to the cars, my AGM came up to me and asked if I wanted to continue drinking at her apartment. She then grabbed my arm and tried pulling me to her car. Yeah, right. Thankfully, I wasn't blacked out. I ended up calling an Uber and headed home. Next day at work, she was all smiley and big eyes. I left 30 minutes later saying I didn't feel well, and I quit that same night. Never working for a Shiriat again. Sexual harassment is a thing that can happen to anyone. Stay safe, guys. 4. I work in a 125-room business-oriented hotel in northern Minnesota. It's been a busier week than usual, with conferences and wedding prep happening, and Randy hasn't made it better. Randy is our current trouble guest. He is around my height, 6'2", and at minimum weighs in at 400 pounds. Randy has extended his stay by a day every day he's been here. Randy likes to sit in the lobby and talk loudly to nobody, but how they're not going to be able to beat him and how he'll show them and how he's going to kill them if they try to touch him again. Randy is mentally unwell, but not unusually troublesome for us. Just let him run off steam for a couple of minutes, let him buy his Starbucks and a bottle, and he'll go back to his room and stay there all day. Today I was working the 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. shift. At 12:07 p.m., Randy approached the front desk. He grabbed a sandwich, a Starbucks, and a fruit cup from our market area, paid for them, and then immediately started talking to me, as if we'd already been engaged in a conversation.
So what'd you do in my situation, dude?
I said, what situation?
Well, you know, I got these magnets in my head and in my collarbone, dude. And they're using them to attack me. They're using... All my life, my grandmother's very rich, and she's using magnets to attack me, man. And she didn't want me playing soccer in high school, so she used magnets to break my legs all the time. And she and her friends have like $500 million, so they're untouchable. And they use these magnets to attack me all the time, and the doctors can't help because they've been paying them off. And even here, you know, even you. I know you've been trying to kill me because they paid you. I know you've been magnetically trying to use these magnets to magnet dust into my throat to kill me, man. But I'm not mad, dude. I know they're paying you a lot to do that, and you gotta make ends meet. But if you were me, what would you do, man? Because they got the city PD, and they framed me because of my extremely small penis. They framed me for molesting children, and they're trying to arrest me right now, but the police are little bitches, and I dare them to come here and try and take me. I fucking dare them. I'll kill them with my bare hands, I swear to God. I'll kill them.
And if they don't let me see my brothers, man, I just want to see my brother. I'm gonna go out in the woods and call the cops and tell them where I am. And that if they come there, I'll kill them. And when they come, I'll kill them until they let me see my brother. But man, you don't even know. I've got this neural implant in my skull, and it's attached to the cameras that they put in my eyes, and I've been spying. My grandmother is preparing, using me. She broke my foot when I was a teenager by magnetically stealing my... She used magnets to steal my shoe to break my foot. Here I interjected. If it's the magnets, maybe go to a place where no cell phone signal, a dead zone. Now, I'm not good with confrontation, and I'm especially not good with my secret magnet-themed murder plans being discovered, but I'm really not good with being blindsided by a clearly unwell man. So, I don't know what to say or do besides try to engage on his level.
No, it won't work. I'm always in the zone. I'm always turned on. Not like that, you know. The magnets won't let me get hard anymore. My dick is tiny anyway. I know you're trying to kill me, but it isn't your fault. I'm literally leaking radiation. I've been to all these doctors. They say I'm schizophrenic, and they give me pills to pop, and pills don't make me feel smart. Then they make me feel stupid and depressed. And they make me feel defenseless against them. I'm trying to resist the forces of evil, but they're targeting me all the time with the magnets. Magnets bad. Yep. But you're using them to try and kill me, dude.
Gotta pay the bills, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at you about it, but I know you want to kill me. They're paying you, forcing you.
Then he wandered away to drink his Starbucks and converse with his demons out loud in the lobby. I went into our back office and explained the conversation to my manager and told her that he was cussing up a storm in public, that he'd been making guests and employees uncomfortable, and that something was gonna be done. She agreed, looked up his folio, and found out that Randy's card wasn't working. He was originally in for one night, then kept extending his stay. Because our system doesn't charge when you extend, only when you check in and out, it had been unnoticed. But Randy owed us $700, and my manager was gonna get it. Of course, she was gonna go talk to him about it, despite warnings from everyone else there that he was the size of a bull elephant and clearly unwell. While she's 5'0", weighs 110 if she's soaking wet. She agreed to have 911 pulled up to call in case it went south, then she called everyone else in the building working down to the lobby in case she needed backup. I was standing to be ready to call the cops since I can't fight with a broken arm. And the other FDA working had quietly retrieved Bertha, the bitch beater, the crowbar we used to break into rooms that guests accidentally deadbolt behind themselves. My manager went and sat at his table and started gently talking to him. While they were talking, he started getting loud, but she just raised her hand up and slowly lowered it until he got quiet again. Then, after about 10 minutes, She walked up to the front desk with him following her.
Hey man, I'm sorry I started telling you that. I'll check out tomorrow, don't worry. I won't be a bother anymore. Thanks for listening. See you later when you try to kill me.
Then he stumped away back to his room. My manager informed me that Randy, fearing government surveillance, had locked his card, but he was gonna unlock it in 30 minutes once he was able to hide from the window. He did, and I extracted the payment, and didn't see him again until I left. Hellfreezer's note: if you or someone you know is experiencing mental difficulty, please reach out to a qualified professional for help. A quick Google search will reveal helpline numbers for your local area. 5. I worked at a motel for a bit before moving back to my hometown. I usually did the evening shift, meaning I'd go in at 2 and leave at 10 each day. I did so many things during my time there, but this story takes the cake. For reference, this was a motel with outdoor access to the rooms. The owner of our motel also owned the other motel that was next door. The manager over there, Martha, was an older woman that worked the same shift as me. She was always willing to help me out when I needed it, which was major in this situation. At the start of my shift, the girl who worked the morning shift told me about how the guy staying in one of the first-floor rooms for the last couple of days had been making her feel uncomfortable. He had extended his stay again and paid in cash. He apparently only paid in cash and never left the card on file. Later, one of the construction workers that was staying with us for a few weeks for a job came down to the lobby with some concerns about a room on the first floor. He said the guy was smoking a joint outside of the room, and asked him if he had wanted some female company for the night. This worker was appalled and said absolutely not. He came to report it to me. There was no concrete evidence of anything at the time, so I let him know I would keep an eye out and report this to the management right away. I texted my manager, and he asked me to keep him posted if this happened again, but would kick the guy out in the morning regardless of if anything else happened. A couple of hours later, housekeeping had wrapped up, and I was the only one running the motel. This was something I had gotten used to, but it just added to my anxiety this day. I have never felt safe being a 22-year-old woman running the solo show, to be honest. When things settled down, I decided to take a lap around the outside, grabbed the cordless phone, and started walking. Everything was normal until I got to the room that was complained about by the worker earlier. As I'm walking by the door, I suddenly hear the sound of someone's whole body weight being slammed against it. It scared the life out of me, and I may have screamed a little. I looked over at the window and saw someone had pulled the curtain aside and was staring at me. A kind of malicious stare that screamed, saying nothing to no one. I immediately walked back to the lobby and ran into the storeroom behind the desk and locked the door. I panicked and called Martha next door. I explained what I had been told by the worker and what had just happened. She told me to stay put and that she would call the cops. Not long after, I stepped out of the storeroom and watched as 2 cop cars pulled around the building towards the room, and one pulled up onto the lobby awning. A cop came inside and let me know that they were handling things. I heard a loud crash and some commotion from outside. I stepped out with him and watched the absolute chaos. The police had kicked down the door, and 4 of them had rushed in. A couple of moments later, they had come out with 2 guys in handcuffs and 2 teenage girls. In the room, they had found drugs stashed everywhere and a couple of guns. The girls each looked bruised and had 1 black eye. Turns out these guys were pimping these girls out and selling drugs from the room. A number of guests stepped out from their rooms to watch what was going on. I ushered a bunch of them back into their rooms, while the cops did their jobs. The worker I had spoken to earlier came up to me and one of the cops and confirmed that one of the guys being arrested was the one who had propositioned him earlier, and that he had done the same to some of the other guys on his team. The cop assured us that they would put the guys away and they would contact the girls' guardians. I don't know what happened beyond that. Martha had seen the cop cars from her lobby window and ran over to check on things. When she confirmed everything was under control, she put her arm around me and walked me away as I was shaking. I worked there for another month or 2 before moving back home. This memory is burned into my brain, and I'll probably remember it forever as the craziest thing that I've ever witnessed. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 109. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do share the video around and hit that like button before you go. Thank you kindly. If you find yourself in a situation like in the last story there, I did include the link to the US website where you can find the relevant numbers to call and report that sort of thing. Hopefully you never find yourself there, but it's better to know how to get that information than to need it and not know. Alrighty, as this was a somewhat more serious video than usual today, some of the stories were, well, kind of the usual hijinks, but as this was a more serious question, I think we're going to skip the question of the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.